Anthropic just published the receipts on who's actually using AI, their own data across the entire economy. And you can now literally just ask Claude to read that to you. Now, everybody is reading this list from the top. They see who's ahead, they see who's automating. Now, what I'm gonna do is read this list from the bottom, because low AI use usually only means one of three things. And one of those three is an open lane. Now, by the end, you'll know exactly which one your industry's in. You'll know exactly how to check it, and I'm literally gonna run this test for you live. Now watch this. Look exactly what these jobs have in common. The work is the words, the numbers, and computer screen. Essentially nothing physical. If the job has to happen inside of a document, AI is already living inside that job. Now, what kind of tasks are people automating? And notice, these are not sci-fi tasks. This is the boring middle of everybody's work week. But this is exactly where the compounding started. Now, the top of that list is not for the smart people, as some people like to imply. It's essentially a list of the people whose work was already readable. You gotta understand, code is only just text. Contracts are text. Marketing is text. What AI is gonna grab onto is gonna be the work that it can read the best. Now let's flip the list. Now everybody is looking at the bottom of this list and just thinking, we're all safe. Or they're thinking behind. Now both of those readings are completely wrong. As if your industry is down here, it simply means that your market has not moved yet. You personally are not late. And what you are standing in front of is essentially an open lane for you to take advantage of. Because when an industry shows low AI use, it's usually one of these three things. One, the work is physical. Now you know AI cannot frame a wall, it cannot pour concrete, drive a truck, or repair a transmission. Two, the work is just blocked. The information exists, but regulation makes it so that we can't have access to that data. Number three, the work is just unread. The businesses already produces the documents. They have the calls, the estimates, the reviews, the timestamps, and even the emails. Yet nobody has actually installed anything that reads them. Now that third one is the opening, and it's not necessarily what you think it is, as this is the huge part that most people just miss. Physical work can still leave an unread trail. AI can't pour concrete, but what AI can do is read every single estimate, change the order, they can do inspection notes, and even do lost bid reports around the job. So the question is never going to be, can AI just do this whole job? The huge question is, what readable trail does this business leave? Now that nothing is the reading itself. But I wanted to know if that was just a clever story, or if you can actually find these openings systematically and be able to genuinely learn how to take advantage of a hole in the market. So what I built is an industry gap finder. It reads Anthropic's usage data. It then compares that with how much the workforce actually sits inside each occupation. What it then checks is how much readable information does that work produce. Then it separates the physical work, the blocked work, and the unread trail. And one of the major gaps that it found was transformation and material moving. That group was only 0.39% of observed US cloud activity, but 8.8% of US employment. Therefore, we see a huge gap. Now that is not a small gap whatsoever. That is literally an industry-sized hole. And guess what? The work still cleared 62 out of 100 on the readable work screen. Now everybody just thinks that Claude can't drive the truck, and truth be told, you are 100% correct. But that is exactly where everybody stops thinking. What you need to understand is that's the wrong layer. You're paying attention to the wrong thing. Every load that comes onto that truck leaves a paper trail that's readable for the AI. A single load can literally produce a rate confirmation, dispatch timestamp, driver messages, a bill of lading, proof of delivery, an invoice, and a customer email thread. Therefore, in that particular situation, the truck already moved and the information that came from that load already exists now. The business is just not reading it together. Therefore, the opening that it found is something that I call a detention recovery workbench. Now, what this does is it reads the contract rules. It reconstructs arrival and departure. It finds loads that appear to have exceeded the free time window. It checks whether the charge was invoiced, as it then assembles the evidence, and it drafts the invoice line, and it gets a customer email based on the data that you have for the other customers that you've used in the past. Now you have this aspect of your job solved. Now what a dispatcher does is it checks the timestamps. It's going to check the terms, the amount, and the customer before anything even goes out. And what you need to understand is that this output is not just another AI summary that you can just quickly type into ChatGPT and get. It's a ranked list of the loads that may contain money that the business already earned, but never collected because nobody read the trail. Now that is exactly what an open lane looks like. That is the private trail inside of one operation. But every single market also leaves a public trail, and your competition is literally paying to create it. Your competitors are literally paying to tell you exactly what works by where they're putting their money at, as that information is now public for you to see. The evidence is public, yet nobody's even reading it. Every single ad that your competitor runs, the ads that they copy, the creative aspects of the ads, the exact date that they started posting these ads, how long they've been paying for the ads, and what exactly they keep rerunning. Now that is paid signal data that is literally sitting in the open for you to exploit for your own benefit. It's public and readable, yet it's fully unread. Now I ran this on one distinct niche. An agent read an active ad from 5 competitor firms. Now what it found is that the hook had literally ran for years. The exact hook that just kept getting cloned. The creative patterns that the market then converged on, and what nobody in the market was doing. Therefore, you now see the open lane for you. Then it turned the entire market into a blueprint. It now shows the durable hook playbooks that lasted months and years, the repeated promises, the formats that competitors just keep paying for, the saturated angles, and the open territory. Now that last part is exactly where the money is. Not another version of what somebody else already runs, but the major gap that the entire market left open just for you to see. See, the advantage was never the access to this data. Everybody has access to this ad library. The advantage is the compression of the data that you can actually use to make a blueprint for your own benefit. Something that can actually read all of it, yet hand you something short that you can then move on in the exact same day. From the index to the competitor ads to the operational records, it's essentially the same move at just different levels. Now you can run the first version of this test right now. List everything that your business produces in a normal month, whether it's the documents, the calls, the photographs, the reviews, the estimates, the tickets, the emails. Then name one decision that your team just keeps making from scratch, not using the data that could be used for their benefit. If the evidence already exists, but nobody actually reads it together before the decision gets made, the workflow is unread, and you can now see that. That's your opening. So do not just watch this video as new. The index is a mirror for you to see what it says about your industry. The move is the exact same. Be the one in your market who reads what nobody else reads, or install something that does it for you. Now that's exactly what the agent is for. It reads your market the same way I just read this index, and it hands you the blueprint for your own benefit. Whether it's your market, your competitors, your offer, your own data, that's exactly step one of the engine that I will install for you. Now comment workbench below, and I'll map the first unread workflow inside of your business.